Dengue Girl, unable to comprehend this beautiful, unexpected miracle without sharing it with others, looked all around her. A heavy, deathly silence had settled, everyone having succumbed to the scythe of her beak, as if talking to ghosts, and inspired by the rhymes her classmates had once inflicted upon her, she shouted, "It's immunity you want, is it? Here's your immunity." Dengue Girl suddenly understood that her modest dream of avenging her mother had become a greater crusade, one that would allow her to lay humanity to waste on a planetary scale. If she alone had managed to kill thousands of people in a single afternoon, an army of Dengue Girls would be capable of putting the entire species under threat of extinction. Suddenly, she understood, too, that where her objective was concerned, the Pampas Caribbean was small potatoes, merely on the periphery of the true center of power on Earth. And if she wanted to extinguish humans and the filthy system of government they had created, she had to strike at the heart, and none other than the Antarctic Caribbean, the true financial center of the solar system, where the political and economic threads that govern the destiny of humanity and the whole planet were managed. She left the eggs in peace where she had found them and shouted, "Mosquitoes, reign over this world!" She bid an emotional farewell to her offspring and took flight, calculating from the sky how the innards of all those corpses would transform into an immense incubation factory for mutant mosquitoes. And if we were to tell this story from the perspective of the little eggs that were still yet to be born, we'd say that when Dengue Girl reached the promenade and then the beach before disappearing into the hazy horizon in which the sky and the sea were but one celestial mist, and which inspired onlookers to dream and fantasize about what might be going on at this precise moment on the wonderful Antarctic beaches, or, what's more, what might be about to happen there now, when the not-so-innocent girl finally manages to commit a pitiless string of atrocities with her perverse and far from innocent beak, and which her fetal offspring could not fail to tenderly admire, they would murmur from inside the gelatinous covering which fed and sheltered them until the last very moment of their germination, "Good luck, Mother Dengue."
Trans girls cannot be allowed to get pregnant. If we can give birth, it's over. Welcome once again to Workers Lit, y'all's favorite podcast about the battle for the narrative. Folks, we have a wild one this week. We are talking about Michel Nieva's Dengue Boy. It is a wild ride, a couple hundred pages of dystopia, of climate apocalypse, of weird Lovecraft-adjacent stuff. Bigger stuff than three people alone can discuss. So we have a guest on the show today. You may remember him from our Saint of Bright Doors episode. Well, not on the episode, but under discussion. We got Vajra Chandrasekara. How you doing, Vajra?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Big fan of the book. We want to get around to doing the other one in the near future, I think.
Yeah, Rakesfall.
Yeah, before we get into the episode, can you tell folks about you? I mean, listeners of the show will remember us talking about Saint of Bright Doors and also mentioning Rakesfall. But if you could plug what you do and the work that you put in, so we love to make folks listen to the plugs at the top. That would be great.
Well, I am Vajra Chandrasekara. I'm a writer of science fiction and fantasy. Saint of Bright Doors and Rakesfall were my first two novels, and my third is due out next summer-ish. I don't have a title or an exact date yet, so that's very little to plug, but keep your eyes peeled, etc. Something will happen in summer next year. I'm currently in New York wrapping up a fellowship at the New York Public Library, writing what is probably going to be my fifth book, which will be even more whatever it is that my other books are than they are, if you see what I mean.
So you're going to be even more on your bullshit.
Yeah, basically. I'm climbing ever higher on the spire of my bullshit.
Yeah. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Much
we are
like
looking
Fetter
forward to that.
ascending into the air.
Yes, exactly. Well, links will be in the bio to check out Vajra's work and to buy it, because buy books, folks. Buy books
Yeah, The
written by
Saint of
real
Bright Doors
authors.
is such a beautiful book. I'm so glad that I own it physically because it has such a great
Yes,
cover.
looks so good. And this is a beautiful book too. And you recommended this book, Vajra. So could you tell me what put this book on your radar? What made you interested in talking about it?
I've been seeing some rave reviews of this on the science fiction side. It was reviewed in Strange Horizons and Locus, and these are and it's kind of like, I think, publishing wise and kind of like reputation wise, it's more of a kind of a literary speculative kind of novel. So when you have like something that crosses over a bit like that, that usually means it's very, very good. Like it means people are getting
Yeah.
excited even in areas where, which is not generally the turf of like of that sort of like review, especially like magazines like Locus. I think Strange Horizons covers that kind of thing more often. And of course, like I read the blurb and it was incredible. It sounded exactly like the kind of, see, like something that like I find that but my books, for example, often get described as, and I don't know if this is like a thing people say about global south authors, but like sort of malarial fevers get referenced a lot in trying to describe books by of a certain type by a certain type of author, and I think that applies especially to Michel Nieva here. So
Mm.
I was intrigued by the quite literal dengue-ness. And I also find it hilarious, like how many different ways there are to pronounce this word, dengue. Uh,
Mm.
when I was a kid, like the dengue has been like a serious like public health issue in Sri Lanka for like many decades now. Before the internet and before like I think like people cottoned on that it was pronounced dengue or dengue, usually in the outside world, we pronounced it the way it was spelled. So we called it dengue. And to this day, if you look at like a single language newspaper, like very soberly talking about like it as a public health problem, it's spelled out, it's pronounced, it's written out as dengue. So and I think like the American pronunciation is more dengue rather than dengue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
this is like,
Yeah. The
yeah,
audiobook I was listening to, I listened to the audiobook. The American narrator, who also I believe speaks Spanish, was saying dengue. Yeah.
right. And I think kind of like the European or UK version of it is more like dengue. Because I looked this up on like the little pronunciation widgets on dictionaries because I wasn't sure how this goes
Right.
either. The only thing I know is that the Sri Lankan way of pronouncing it is definitely our own thing, and nobody else does that.
Mhm.
Well, to add another wrinkle to it, when I got this from the store, the sort of here in Georgia, in the U.S. South, the sort of southern person holding down said, "Oh, you're reading Dang Boy, like Dang, like
Oh, right,
dang or
yeah,
darn."
dang,
So there's
dang boy.
now another one saying,
That's
"Oh,
another
this
Dang.
is
one.
Dang Boy."
He was.
Dang boy.
So
I think more like he was probably like, "Oh, dang boy." He was. Yeah.
Dang Boy, yeah,
Dang.
exactly. So there's
Yeah.
now, you call it what you want, but this book's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and in Spanish it's called La Infancia del Mundo. So
Mhm.
the childhood of the world. So it has
Yeah,
another
and
name.
that's a phrase that keeps cropping up in the book as well,
Yeah.
right? Like it shows up
Yes.
a lot, so you can see why that was the title of the book. I think I read like an article by the translator saying how
Mhm.
much he regretted that the title had to change.
Mm,
Yeah, I
yeah.
honestly I wonder why the title had to change because I feel like that for an American audience, and that's like primarily probably most of the English language market is going to be an American audience. I don't think a lot of Americans know what dengue virus is.
Mhm.
Like, so I think that like the infancy of the world would
Of-
probably be more of a approachable title. But I mean, Dengue Boy, I guess, is like it's everything is like something girl, arsonist's daughter, the
Yeah.
Song of Ice and Fire, like the
It
something of
gives
something and
you
something.
it gives you a protagonist to kind of
Yeah.
latch on to, right, and to sort of view this thing through their context. their perspective. Although if you get too shackled to one particular perspective in this book, I think you very quickly sort of fall into a trap of trying to also make sense of the cosmology, of the timelines.
Which would be a mistake.
Well, I hope you're not too attached just to the name Dengue Boy, because that will be gone very quickly as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I also read the same article by the translator, which was really interesting because I don't do translation, but I do a lot of localization. So I love to read things by translators. So that was really interesting. So Michel Nieva was born in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, in 1988. I'm also going to apologize for my Spanish pronunciation. I have been told by my Chilean wife that I speak Spanish like an Italian. So get ready for that. Because
Very unique insult.
I mean, I speak Italian, so I
There you
pronounce
go.
everything like I'm speaking Italian. So I'm sorry. Mi dispiace. Okay, so yeah, so he got a degree in philosophy at the University of Buenos Aires, which doesn't surprise me.
That
He just
tracks.
like me for real. And he's currently a PhD candidate in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese Languages and Literature at NYU.
Okay.
So he's and he was selected as Granta magazine's one of his 25 best Spanish language writers. And he has invented a genre that he's dubbed gaucho punk, named after
Okay.
the cowboys, the Argentinian cowboys. That he's like, it's kind of like cyberpunk but with gauchos instead, I guess. And that's what they call dengue. It gets called that. Dengue Boy gets called that. And his first novel was, oh boy, I'm not even going to try to say it in Spanish. It's Do Gauchoids Dream of, oh my god, what is it? Do Gauchoids Dream of Electric Reyes? Which is
Gotcha.
which is apparently about a guy who gets a gaucho robot to do his to come to his house and do his chores, and it
Cool.
speaks entirely in epic poetic verse. And I don't think this has been translated to English, which is a shame because I really want to read it. It sounds amazing.
That is so Borges.
Yeah. I mean, I get Vajra, does your work get called magical realism?
It does, yes.
Yeah. I think
I had to
that's
tell people to stop doing that, but it does happen.
Yeah, I think that it kind of has come to mean fantasy by any non-white person gets called magical realism when it's a very specific political genre from South America. But we're gonna do Borges eventually, and we'll talk about magical realism then. But
Borges has come up so many times on our show. It's just we've never actually done one of his works.
I think Borges actually comes up in this book as well because the author
definitely
takes a little sidebar out to address Borges directly.
Yeah, he does. He's like, and so like I said,
how do you
before,
like that, Borges?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's kind of okay, fuck you, William Shakespeare. Yeah,
Yeah.
More books should do that.
Much
sure.
like that.
Dengue Boy, like I said, is called La Infancia del Mundo, the infancy of the world, in Spanish, or the childhood of the world. And according to the translator's article, which I found really interesting, was in Spanish, all of the names that Dengue Boy chooses for himself have 12 letters to go along with the Mighty Archon thing, the 12-letter word. And the translator said that they tried really hard to do that, but they were ending up with stuff like Dengue Gal. And they were like, I can't.
Hey, that would go with the American South pronunciation of "dang gal." That would work great. But, if you're from anywhere else, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, so it seems to have received extremely it's gotten really good reviews. There's a lot I feel that the person who would pick up this book is not the sort of person who would be very offended by it, because the people who sort of tend to clutch their pearls about stuff like this are not people who are going to pick up Argentinian book in translation with a giant mosquito on the front.
Yeah, there's the two covers. I love both of the covers of this book. The giant mosquito one is really pretty, and I also like the other one, which it's like a child's head that's like splitting and like a mosquito and like flowers are coming out. Both of them are
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah. As usual, I like went and tried to find like negative reviews of this book, and like most of them are like either like this book is gross, which fair, it is gross, positive, or like why does this book have so many lists? When he just like lists the glaciers for like pages.
Or the butterflies.
Yeah. And I don't know, to me, that's funnier every time he does it, but I'm also kind of a sicko, so.
Yeah.
No, this is definitely one for the sickos.
Yes. I mean, you know, this is the podcast where we were like, we should have had more chapters about knots and Moby Dick. So like, we don't give a fuck. Like, it's gonna be fine.
We're kind of on an all-time sicko run at this point. You know, I think we're breaking next week. Although it might be sicko. The Dispossessed might be a sicko book.
In a different way. It's fun. It's not as freaky, but it's gonna be fun.
So there's not a ton of like personal information about him out there. I believe that there is in Spanish, but I also no longer trust web translation anymore, and I don't want to be like, oh, he's a giraffe or whatever.
The way the LLMs are like, doing that.
Yeah. Sorry, did I make you spit on yourself, Lenore?
No. I saved it just in time.
It really does do that.
Did a spit take. Yeah, so that's about all I've got. But yeah, he seems to do like he's writing a book of essays coming out, he's written a book of essays called Capitalist Science Fiction, and he's written something called like Technology and Barbarism or something like that, which sounds really interesting. I think that's the sort of he studies like decolonization and like like what you would expect him to study from this book.
Sure. Well, the basic framing of this book. Okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. Actually,
go for it.
Even
do it.
Actually, no, I don't want to. Who here wants to try to give like a 30-second summary of what the plot of this book is?
I'll give it a whirl. There's
Lenore.
There is a child who is half mosquito and half human, and everything she touches becomes disease impregnated with mosquito eggs as it happens. And the hyper-capitalist, half-sunken beneath the waves world that this child tries to navigate and later destroy. That's basically it. There's like the school bully that figures pretty heavily into it. That also
there's a video game.
There's a video game that is also like reality, and this is what's crazy about this book, right? It's the lines between past and present and future break down completely toward the end. The lines between
they do human instrumentality.
Yes, they do. They do virtual and the real blending, and even different timelines. Right, like the first chapter ends with somebody dying, and the second chapter begins. Well, if this person hadn't died, this is what would have happened, right? But then the rest of the book just proceeds from that, right? So right away, you're in a setting where I think it's very apt that it begins with that Lovecraft quote. Part of the epigraph is the Antarctic continent was once temperate and even tropical, which is from At the Mountains of Madness, right? Lovecraft's whole thing was like this world is like there was the peak of civilization, which is in his estimation was like the British Empire, basically, and the world's in this slow and irreversible decline, and like just the anxiety of a very racist and insular sort of man, but like it's. I feel like this is in conversation with Lovecraft in a very sort of tongue-in-cheek way, right? It's like, okay, guy, like if you want to see a world that's totally in decline, let's set it somewhere where A, he himself would have been afraid to venture like in his time, and B, which is in decline as a result of the things that like your people are doing.
The British Empire, right? Exactly.
Yeah, there's research on British Empire here, right? They've recolonized Argentina. Essentially.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
basic framework in which this exists is we are in the 2200s. Climate change run amok. The survival of the world is dependent entirely on geoengineering corporations. And yeah, the British Empire is back. Somehow UK
Somehow
capital
Palpatine
manages.
returned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes,
somehow
exactly.
somehow King Charles returned.
Yes, yeah. King Charles, the current one, yeah, he gets gets powers, I guess. I don't know. Regardless, it's British capital that finances geoengineering, which manages to make Antarctica this wealthy sort of place for global capital, and Argentina gets recolonized, even though like half the country is underwater. It's a bad place to be, but you know what? People are leaving the earth. We're figuring out ways to control climate in certain places. We've got barges where you can see the last of icebergs inside of the barge
And
frozen.
you'll learn all about them.
That's another list. There's a list of icebergs as well.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Add that
yeah,
to the list of lists.
yeah.
I love how everything can be quantified and listed and assembled for like consumption, right? But for never anything productive, right?
Yeah.
The same way, like, okay, we have these geoengineering companies that can, arrest the slow and inevitable decline of civilization, but can't actually like reverse it or mitigate it, right, in any meaningful way. This is definitely the bad timeline after Ministry for the Future, right?
Yeah, this is Ministry for the Future doesn't work out. The children of Kali don't get off the ground
The
as
future is not
instantly.
ministered.
Yeah, it's not ministered.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And it opens up with Dengue Boy, who is this mosquito, and it says, "Nobody loved Dengue Boy. I don't know if it was his long beak or the constant, unbearable buzzing sound his wings made as they rubbed together, which would distract his entire class. The fact was that when recess came and all the other kids shot out into the yard to chat and joke and eat their sandwiches, poor Dengue Boy would remain alone at his desk, staring into space, pretending to revise a page of his notes to avoid the embarrassment of going out into the yard where he didn't have a single friend to talk to." So this sort of the geopolitics of it all takes a back seat to start with, even though it starts out with this map of like, futuristic Argentina, for it's like, okay, so there's this sad little like mosquito hybrid, human hybrid, and nobody likes him. Everybody's mean to him. And also, if you're wondering who the like I is, the speaker, don't worry about it. It's the author. They're addressing you. It's very like kind of fable-esque in its language.
Yeah, it is also very like I asked my wife, like, how would you describe magical realism? Because as I said, she's from Chile, and she said, it's like when in the book, like you're walking down the street and there's just like a bird man and it's totally cool. And I was like, yeah, that's this book. Like, because his classmates are like, oh, gross. You're a stupid mosquito. Your mom fucked a mosquito man, but like they're not like, wow, there's a giant mosquito in my class.
Right, like it bothers them, but not like that much. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
mean, they
Like,
treat him like they would treat the gay kid or the kid with one leg,
right,
right?
Mhm.
Like that's
exactly.
the point.
Like, yeah, they treat Dengue Boy, yeah, poorly, but not like in the sense of, oh my god, my reality is breaking down by there being a mosquito man in front of me. And Dengue Boy, we don't know for a while why Dengue Boy is a mosquito boy, but there's all kinds of rumors about mostly about his mom, like, having sex with various bad figures that you don't want your mom to have sex with.
Mosquitoes, various
Yeah,
mosquito men, yeah.
various mosquito men and whatnot. And the mom doesn't like him very much either. The mom's always like, "Oh my god, it's my stupid mosquito son.
He
Please let
doesn't
me
even
go on
have
my online
hands.
dates." Yes, he doesn't even have hands. And the mom is like, "Please let me go on like my dates." And like that's never really factors into the novel, aside from it's just like, yeah, my mom like at night like gets on the
My
computer
mom is
with
always
men.
cybering, but me with my huge mosquito body, I keep knocking everything down.
Yeah, my mom is a Discord kitten. It's crazy.
Oh my
Well,
god.
and we never really get. I mean, it's bleak, yes, but it's bleak in a very funny way, right? There is this upbeat resignation shot throughout the entire book, right? Like the prose just engenders this gleeful sort of, certainly like toxic positivity, right? that puts in your mind, okay, like everything's getting worse. All we can do is laugh at it. All we can do is maybe reap some profit, right? You know, and it scales up to the Antarctic continent being tropical again, right? Everything is in this liminal space that's like in transition to being consumed and commodified.
Mm.
And there's something very comic booky about it. The whole thing, really, like from the title onwards, there's a like everything is kind of dialed up to, I don't know, 14. Like for example, average global temperatures are 140 Fahrenheit, which is 60 Celsius for those of you. I mean, like that's not like a survivable temperature. That's not realistic, quote unquote. But obviously, this book doesn't give a shit. The idea is it just wants to give you like a gigantic, ridiculous number. So it's just throwing a number at you. And for example, Dengue Boy doesn't have hands, but he takes notes somehow. At various
with
points,
his
like,
beak, I guess. Yeah,
with his
Yeah.
dipping
beak.
it in
But like,
ink.
there's also the point where Dengue Girl is like biting all the brokers at the stock exchange, and they don't notice this giant mosquito like sort of biting their like asses and their
balls, yeah.
balls and their eyes. So like the size of the mosquito and the noticeability of the mosquito vary wildly based on what the text needs wants at that particular moment. And there's like just don't worry about it.
Vajra, it's
You know,
interesting
vibes
that
this whole thing.
you said it was like a comic book, because I had the thought this is like watching an episode of The Boys. when somebody like fucks a dolphin or something like that, or like a dolphin gets hit by a semi truck.
Wait, does a dolphin get hit by a semi truck in The Boys? Is that a thing that happens
Yes.
in that show?
Yes.
I feel like that's something else.
Yeah,
What was
there's
the
a
dolphin doing in the road?
It's
Jesus.
because I think it was like one of the characters' like girlfriend, his dolphin girlfriend, and he had it in the car, but then it flew out of the car.
This is a lesson to us all not to take your dolphin girlfriend driving.
Yeah.
Buckle her
Well,
in.
or and another lesson is if you're at summer camp, be careful who you pick on at summer camp, because it's a crazy transition.
She
Dengue
might
Boy
just-
ends-
Yeah,
She
speaking of
might
crazy
just
transitions.
eat you, or she might just
Yeah.
suck you.
Yeah, Dengue Boy ends up at a summer camp with and the sort of bully kid is named El Dolce, which rules. And El Dolce, he's like, "Hey kids, y'all want to learn how to masturbate?" And so he starts teaching the kids how to masturbate. But then Dengue Boy can't. I'm not
Classic
making
El
any of this up.
Dulce.
Not making any of this up. You can read it, and you should. And then he's like, "Well, Dengue Boy, you must be a eunuch of some sort. You must be messed up." All the kids are laughing at him, and so Dengue Boy
Right,
is like,
because
"One."
mosquitoes don't have penises.
Right, exactly. So Dengue Boy's like, "One, I guess I'm a girl now. I'm leaning into it. I'm Dengue Girl for the rest of the book. Dengue Boy is now girl. Thank you,
Good
everyone."
for her.
And Dengue Girl now is like, "I'm going to murder this child," and in fact murders El Dolce. And it's like, "Oh, I guess we'll never see El Dolce again." You'd be wrong, but
Yeah.
but that
I feel
begins
like you
Dengue
might see
Girl's
El
villain arc.
Dolce. You might see El Dolce more than you see Dengue Girl. I feel like like that little bastard keeps coming back.
So yeah, El Dolce dead. Not that matters.
It's
And
okay.
Dengue
It's
Girl.
El Dulce. My wife will
Dulce.
drag me if I say Dolce. If anyone says Dolce,
My bad.
I will be Italian shamed.
Dulce.
El Dulce.
My bad. El Dulce gets killed, and Dengue Girl now, and Dengue Girl will have that name changed more times, is unleashed on the world and decides, okay, people have been mean to my mom. My mom has a shit job. She's miserable. She hates me. My mom's never going to love me, but I can kill my mom's boss. That'll be good to do. Which is where we kind of get into the politics of this world, which is, fast and loose. Again, Argentina, half underwater, recolonized by the British. And the world seems to be a competition between multiple conglomerates who, while doing a lot of things, geoengineering makes money, and betting on the outcome of viruses makes money. You have like
Viral
you're doing
finance.
viral finance. Yeah, someone
It's
talk about viral
Kalshi for
finance.
Kalshi for Ebola.
Yes. One of them's called the Ebola Holding Company.
I mean, that's just going to happen. That's inevitable.
That
Yeah.
one's definitely going to be a real company. The other one is Influenza Finance or something, right?
Yeah,
Influenza Financial Services, I want to say something like
something
that.
along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do we think of viral finance? Because this is like kind of an undergirding thing. Like all the capital in the book is coming from this like betting on and investment in the proliferation of viruses across the world.
I mean, we basically already have this with Polymarket.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I mean, also, even like the real quote unquote stock market is you're hedging against what's going to happen in society, basically. So we
Right.
kind of already, like, the stock market is the viral finance.
Mm-hmm. And there are all kinds of disasters and societal ills certainly that have spawned growth industries of their own. You know, how many billions of dollars does the airport security industry do every year? The school shooting prevention industry, right? You know, these are all things that have been commodified and that I can't imagine are very far off from being, polymarketized, right? Whatever the word that I'm looking for, where something is transitioned to the financialization space, the gambling space. Everything is speculative.
Cryptified.
Hmm.
Everything's turned into a shit coin.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, you
Invest in dengue coins, going to the moon.
you also have the case, I mean, in real life of like Johnson and Johnson and Pfizer like actually asking like global south countries for like percentages of like water rights to state water companies for like vaccine distribution. That was this thing we saw in Latin America. I'm not sure about Argentina specifically, but I know that happened in Chile. I know that happened in Peru. Is they were just asking specifically like, yeah, give us rights to like some of your country's natural resources for the distribution of vaccinations, right? I mean, we also saw, I mean, the sort of vaccine warfare is a thing that became a huge thing in 2020 around COVID and afterwards. I mean, we saw it in the Philippines, we saw it all over the place, this kind of competition over how do we distribute vaccines, who's buying it, who has the rights to it, what sphere of influence are we in? I mean, that was a big thing, especially in the Philippines between and Vietnam, between the United States and China. So, I mean,
No,
it's a real thing,
didn't
even if this is
Cuba made its own vaccine too, I think,
Cuba
and
did
distributed
Cuba
it.
did
They have
develop
several.
Yeah.
Cuba did develop an independent vaccine, yeah, but then there was the question of like what do you call it? Access to
Say sanctions.
needles and things like well,
Oh,
sanctions, yeah,
yeah.
access to needles and stuff being
God, the
able to be
world
imported.
sucks so bad.
Yes. That's the thing. Like this is only a step up in absurdity when you consider like, oh wow, well, we have the vaccine, but we don't have the needles. Well, we have the needles, we don't have the vaccine. Wish there was something we could do about that, but there's nothing we can do. I guess let
Mhm.
people die is like a real thing that actually happened. Dengue Girl kind of resolves the contradiction in her own mind by being like, well, what if I just like killed everybody on like this world's Wall Street
Right.
in
It's the
the or
first.
Argentinian Wall Street?
Yeah, she's the first person to assert, I mean, of course, you have El Dulce reveling in the awesome power of being the first 12-year-old to discover jacking off, of course. But right, but then you have Dengue Girl being like, okay, well, what if I was the first person to assert my agency in a way that actually challenges existing power, right? Because we live in a world where, and this is especially apparent in El Dulce's first chapter, right? We live in a world that has fostered such complete disengagement by the masses from political participation, from any sort of political agency, that the El Dulce is immersed in the contraband world, right? The most popular illicit substances on Earth are there's two like addictive stimulants, and then there's sheepies, which are basically
the
like
sheepies.
living fleshlights, right? And that's like how you get ahead is just trafficking in these.
Yeah.
And then he finds something different that like we'll get into later. But his question, like, what the hell is this? Do you fuck it or does it fuck you up? And those are like the two questions that you're expected to ask of yourself if you live in this world and if you're a regular person, and no other, right? You're either dominating or you're just tuning out.
That's a
Yeah.
great point. It's do you fuck it or does it fuck you up is really just the question you ask of every interaction in your life in this
Mhm.
world.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like, nowhere in this book is there like sex between two people. it's all fucking like these. It's either like jacking off or fucking these like weird organic fleshlights because like
Or like
everybody is so
putting eggs in like the dead bodies of your enemies.
right. So it's like completely like atomized. There's like no social connection basically between anyone in this world. Like very few characters even actually speak to each other in this world until the very end where Dengue Girl and El Dulce talk a little bit, but one he's pretending to be somebody else. So like and the other whole there's like a whole other character who seems like she might be important but then she gets like domed immediately, that white girl who like hates Indians.
Renee. Yes.
Yeah, Renee.
Renee.
Yeah, playing the
Renee is the
every
only other viewpoint character we have, just for like one small paragraph.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's like everybody's playing the hot new game Indians versus Christians. And Indians versus Christians too.
And then Indians versus Christians 4, and Indians is crossed out, so it's just Christians 4.
Yeah. Yeah, so all the kids like are obsessed with this VR game where you play as like basically it's like Counter-Strike but it's Christians and Indians.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this game seems awesome in a lot of ways, except for the microtransactions. The microtransactions, that seems bad.
Indians
But
win.
it seems it seems like there's a healthy online player base. Seems like there's a lot. Seems like there's a lot of people to play with. It's got cross console platform thing going on.
Fascinating range of activity that you can engage in. You can run in like butcher shops. You can like fight wars. There's like apparently like towns with like a whole functioning economies that can be built up over time and raided.
You can buy horse armor.
Yeah,
and you can play as an elf. Like it's theoretically recreating the pre-flood like reality of like the 19th. It's redoing 19th century colonization in Argentina, but you can play as an elf or an imp or a goblin or something.
God,
if you really feel
so
like
much crazy shit happens in this book that I completely forgot about the elf with the neo pronouns.
So that's the thing. Renee is a character that doesn't matter a lot. We basically get her perspective just as like, here's a girl whose dad works for the bad company. Dengue Boy, now girl's mom was her nanny. She's going to get killed because of, Dengue Girl's revenge mission. And she plays this video game. And the brief thing we see of that is she's playing as an elf with neopronouns, with Zer pronouns, who is doing like
Shem,
trying
I think the pronouns are.
Or Sheshem pronouns.
Sheshem, yeah.
Sheshem pronouns and trying to obliterate all Indians from ancient Argentina.
I guess she's there because she's the only one we see playing on the Christian side, right? Because El Dulce plays on the Indian side.
Right.
Yes.
But then he joins the Christians when he's playing 4 because it only has the Christians.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because the game seems to be like, putting its like finger on the lever or on the scales here of being like, okay, the Christians do ultimately win. Don't worry about it. Despite this supposed to being like a multiplayer game where anything can happen.
Well, and I love how like it skips directly from like Christians v Indians 2 to just like Christians 4, and like presumably the game where that contradiction is resolved, the number 3 is completely missing, right? You don't even want people to reckon with what led to it, Fetter's father, right, in erasing entire stretches of history from human memory, right?
Yeah, when we got to that at the end when they like rewrite history, I was like, oh, I see.
I also really love the whole thing with the game consoles, right? Like there's something called Playtronics, which is the high-end machine that everyone wants. And then there's the Chinese knockoff, which is the Playtone or something like that. The Playtone. And El Dulce is playing on the Playtone, the knockoff that his brother got him. And inside the game that he's playing on the Playtone, he finds a Playtronics. He starts playing the game inside the game and getting like because he's plugged the magical Antarctic telepathic stone into his device, obviously,
Yeah.
which we
As
have
one
not got
does.
to yet, as one does. What else do you do with it? But
What if
yeah,
you
just the mere fact that you
emulate?
can play one game inside another game, but with a better device, with a
What if you could
better.
Yeah.
emulate a PS5 on a TurboGrafx 16?
Yeah. What stuck out to me about the original appearance of this Christians versus Indians thing is the very much the like the merging of like the modernity of like, oh, we're gonna be entrepreneurs, we're gonna be elves, we're gonna be whatever, and also the very base like 18th century racism, like of the like we're going to exterminate all Indians, like a very like it's a very interesting like blend of like sort of the these characters who you'd imagine in modernity would have a more, even if they had those opinions, sort of a more refined way of communicating them. And then in this game is like a way of synthesizing that. But then, you
Yeah.
come out of the game and then the father of this girl is like calling calling his housekeeper who doesn't show up like racial slurs. So like,
Yeah.
it's
Also,
Which
it's
is
still
Dengue
in
Girl's
that.
mother.
right, yeah.
Right.
Let's
Yes.
we are saying Indians because that's what they say in the book, but they mean like native South Americans.
Right, exactly. Or this game's version of native South Americans who
Yeah,
follow like
yes.
a snake god.
Yeah.
In
Who sounds
game.
pretty
Yeah.
sick. The
Yeah.
Mighty
It's an
Archon.
in-game religion. Yeah, it's an in-game religion that if you want to keep serving your god, you got to do microtransactions,
Yeah. Shall
which
we
is
talk about the Mighty Archon? That's what the game says. Then you have to give it $12, 12 pesos.
yes. Can you imagine? I mean, like Fortnite, pretty impressive what it's managed to do with getting kids to give money, get their parents debit cards. But can you imagine if Fortnite started telling kids the only way to go to heaven is if you buy the John Wick skin or whatever the fuck?
Oh, that's
That's
coming.
what they
That's
did in
coming.
this world.
I mean, that already is kind of like that already exists, kind of.
I got to share. This was years ago, but my little brother, who was at the time I think 11, went to my parents apparently and told them, "Hey, just so you know, I totally did this on accident, but I think I bought $500 of Fortnite skins." And they were like, "You
Good
clearly didn't
God.
do that on accident, right? Like you knew the amount."
Whoops.
Let's just say he didn't play Fortnite for a long time after that. He was in some serious trouble for that, but it just always cracked me up. I accidentally bought $500 of Fortnite skins.
I have a cousin also who like got into like much younger than your brother was at the time, but who got into like her parents' like credit card and like bought a shitload of Smurf berries on whatever Smurf thing is for 5-year-olds.
Smurf? Like the little
Yes.
blue guys?
Yeah. Yeah, there's like Smurf games now.
Fantastic.
That's
Remarkable.
awesome.
Mhm.
Spending
That's pretty
500.
sick.
I spent $1,000 of my parents' money on Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
You gotta
Heck
crush
yeah.
the candy.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of crushing candy, no, I don't have anything.
God.
Okay.
More like
There's
crushing.
there's more than microtransactions in the game's religion, though, right? Because it also makes the kids pray ritually at set hours of the day. So,
Right.
like, if you
They have to turn and face Mecca.
Yeah, you gotta. Oh my god,
Digimecca.
your religion is just doing your dailies.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so what to try and I promise we're relaying the plot as it happens. I know it probably sounds like we're not.
Oh, we have to sit. El Dulce finds like a magical stone that
Yes.
says into his head, "Shall we talk about the mighty anarch?" And it says it so much to him that it's like driving him insane. So he throws it out of the window, and then a homeless man finds it and it cracks his skull open. And then they put up like a bunch of soldiers come and put up a cordon around the trash heap where the stone goes.
This is giving Black Flame, right? It's giving Do You Want It? This is such a trans book,
Mhm.
right? Like you
Mhm.
have this glimpse beyond the veil into this other state of being, and initially, right, it's a revelation that you shrink from the enormity of because you're afraid
It kills
of
a
what it might
homeless
mean.
man.
Yeah, who? No, I'm not gonna.
Whose dysphoria hasn't killed a homeless man?
That's so horrible. Oh.
God, I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, well, in El Dulce's context specifically, right? Like it's gaining consciousness of your gender, consciousness of like your class, right? It's scary, and sometimes it's easier to aspire to oppressing your fellow kids, running around butt naked and hitting things, which textually is why he picked the Indian side, of course. And sometimes that puts you directly in the path of somebody less principled and disciplined, but slightly more conscious, and that somebody, of course, is a mosquito person.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, like you said, Lador, like eventually, like El Dulce's mantra at the end becomes life or cash. Like, what's
Mm-hmm.
more important?
And it chooses cash.
Yes.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly.
The
And I think
blood
it's a
is
good
the
time to
life.
talk about the concept of the mighty anarch, okay? Because this is, if there's anything that's grounding this book, right? Like that's like, okay, here's the thing. It is this existing concept of the mighty anarch. It is this idea of there is this pre-human, pre-life, sort of primordial form of existence, which is the earth pre-life and with emerging life. That is, it's basically just the earth seen as a continuous entity with everything on it. It starts with the earth just being a rock. It goes forward for billions of years, and it is the earth in its entirety. It's like very, there's something Buddhist to it, of this idea of like all, emptiness. There was something that's very like, but it also is talking about the abolition of private
Yeah,
property,
there's something
because it's like
communist about it.
there's
Yeah.
something communisty about it. There's something, obviously anarchic about it. And there is something just very like, yeah, it's deeply like primal. It's just this idea of like nature and totality. Humanity is part of nature, in the sense of humanity is a thing that arose from evolution and dies from evolution. And there's a lot
It's
more
also a
coming, and there's a
giant
lot more
snake.
before you. And it's also a giant snake. It's everything. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
and
everything.
it's also the infancy of the world, right? What
Mhm.
Right.
the original Spanish title of the text. So this is what they are referring to, and I guess this is also the Lovecraftian connection, because this is the primordial great old one
Mhm.
who knowledge of whom brings madness and terror, which is
Mhm.
why Dulce throws away the stone the first time, refusing the hero's call, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Refusing
Yeah,
the call to
absolutely.
transition.
Yeah.
But like this refrain of like, shall we speak of the mighty anarch returns, including Dingue Girl slash boy slash void slash whatever going by at the time, recalls like, oh, when I was a child, my mother, when I asked where did I come from, said, shall we speak of the mighty anarch? It's like
Mhm.
Dingue boy girl everything emerges from the mighty anarch as well. I don't know, what do we make of this entire thing, because it's a refrain through it that I think is like kind of the key to understanding the text.
I think Dengue Girl essentially becomes the mighty anarch, or returns to being the mighty anarch, or in to returns to communion with the mighty anarch that already exists and is outside of time, which is why I think like that's why that's essentially why it was the title, and also kind of the secret meaning of all the names having the so many letters and so forth, which apparently did not work in the translation, but it's still in there somewhere.
Yeah, because
So I read the mother's like reference to that as being part of Dengue Girl's recollection of that answer to that story, which can only be understood as a reference to this kind of cyclic, like coming forth from the primordial void and returning to the primordial void thingness,
right,
which may
or
or
just
may not
like
be what her mother actually said, but
the
it's how she
idea
remembers it.
of the mighty anarch constantly having to like remind people of itself, like the shall we talk about the mighty anarch, like it works on the trans level, but it also works on like the level of humanity, sort of everything that we do, we kind of constantly try to deny our own connection to the world and the cycle of the world, because everything we've done has been to separate ourselves from it. And like everybody in this book, like El Dulce especially, he's like multiple removes from reality. Like he's in a video game inside a video game inside like a white, he like becomes the big Christian guy. He like when he's playing Indians versus Christians for Now with Less Indians or whatever it's called, he's like playing, he like becomes a guy who is like the head of one of these pharmaceutical companies and then has like extremely graphic tentacle sex with a sheepy. That really took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it. Um, but yeah, like he's at like so many removes from reality, and like the mighty anarch wants to constantly like remind people that it's there, and nobody wants to hear it except Dengue Girl.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the tragedy of like the sheepy like being the one to like tentacle fuck him, right? In like every orifice, creates new orifices, makes orifices of like, you know, fingernails, toenails. Like it's wild. Go read this book.
Go read this
But,
book.
like,
You can read it in a sitting. You'll feel insane. I said like this. I was like, reading this book is like getting 4 concussions. Parentheses positive.
well, that's the thing. Like at the point where you're getting 4 concussions, at the point where the thing that you fuck ends up fucking you in this transcendental way, like the tragedy of Al Dulce at that time is that he's already in a position where that doesn't matter to him, where that doesn't affect his view of the world. Right? It's taking this primordial pleasure, whatever aspect of primitive communism, call it what you will, of the mighty anarch, could have brought fulfillment and togetherness, and it's just reduced to novelty. You know, the same way that the icebergs are reduced to novelty, the same way that so much else in this book is categorized and quantified and just offered up for consumption by an increasingly small slice of the population, you know, and a slice of the population that doesn't even come up with cool screen names for themselves. Rene Racedo online is just Rene Racedo.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got the sheepy that gives you 15 pussies instantly. And what are they even doing with their lives?
Only Elon Musk has the access to the fucking like pussy engendering sheepy. It's a tragedy. It's an injustice.
No, it's because and he only actually uses it when he's being possessed by the slum kid.
Right. Exactly. The kid that like actually is like sees it as a novelty. Something that I found about the Mighty Anarch is I kept thinking of the book The Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace Wells. Which if you read that, David Wallace Wells' entire motivation for writing that, well, his motivation for writing that was it was originally a New York Times piece that got expanded into a fuller book. But he was sitting in New York City, feeling the heat of a heat wave, and he was like, oh my God, I'm in the most like urban place you can possibly imagine, the most not nature place, quote unquote, you can possibly imagine, the middle of New York City. And I'm absolutely still in nature. There is no such thing as escaping nature. That is a complete fallacy that you've escaped nature, right? It is you've created a simulacrum of something else, but it's not. You're inventing that. And I thought of that. It's very much like the idea that humanity has somehow escaped, somehow transcended, and in some extent they have. Right, in this world, these corporations in the world of Dengue Boy have basically figured out how to do like incredible geoengineering. They're like, hey, you know, back in the day, these silly indigenous cultures said, oh, don't destroy the Amazon rainforest. That's gone forever. No, we can make one that's 1 billion times bigger on Mars. And it's like, well, like that they have no regard for the actual thing itself, right? They have no regard for the actual thing itself. And they see themselves as above nature, but ultimately they are still subject to it. And the more they play with these rules, the more likely they are to unleash the thing that ultimately destroys them, aka this mosquito ozone layer.
It's a very sort of I mean, you know, it's maybe this is just because like we're in Argentina again, and like Tender of the Flesh is going to be on my mind, but like it's this thing that the text calls like unbearable sentimentality toward their land, right? This superstition of the native people that like it can't be reproduced, right? It's what I think of as like the perfection of contradiction, right? It's the same principle as right at the end of Tender is the Flesh, when Marcos Tejo can actually get his son back from this industrial cannibalism that he's at the center of, right? Suddenly, this thing that you've lost that cannot be replaced by your particular political economy that you find yourself in, suddenly like that contradiction is resolved and there is no more need for consciousness.
Yeah. Right.
Well-
so then Dengue Girl is like, well, I killed the people who killed my mom, who like have treated my mom bad. So now I'm going to just completely decolonize Argentina. Let's fucking go. And then she's like, I'm going to kill all humans. Let's go. Like, she's just like, this species is bad and they're ruining the earth. And you know what? She's right. She's got us there.
Then she gets hit by some bug spray and dies.
Yeah.
temporarily. That's the thing. It's so anticlimactic for a second. You're like, oh my God.
I love that she spends like literal pages getting annoyed at how expensive food is at a tourist trap too. She's just so annoyed
Yes.
that it's like 12 pesos for some fish.
This is what I don't get. There's a bit in because of course, like there is that like quibble that you can get derailed by, like she goes from like, wanting to, genocide humanity to like wanting to talk to the manager, right? There's this weird
I've
sort
been
of
there.
there's this weird sort of detachment from reality that I wonder if it bleeds into other characters, right? What I'm thinking of is the one thing that really I stumbled over. Now that Martian Patagonia had been founded, El Dulce had to travel full speed to Titan, the satellite of Jupiter, where he was due to inaugurate the Titanic Iguazu Falls. Titan's a moon of Saturn. Did that trip anybody else up?
I don't know my Saturn moons, I'm gonna be honest.
That's the only one I know.
I mean, like there's so much like absurdity in the way that they kind of like, for example, have the iceberg gallery and like rename things like the Caribbean, for example. It's the Antarctic Caribbean.
Oh, true.
Because it's, yeah. So I just figured it was one of those things where they just changed the names because they felt like it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is that. I mean, everything's desanctified. Everything's
vibes.
Yeah, everything's stripped of identity and just like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Vajra. Renamed according to exigency. And like, this is a book with like 400 floor skyscrapers. This is a book where capitalism has gone completely off the rails into the theater of the absurd, right? Who's to say they didn't just tow Titan back to Jupiter to make it closer, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I liked how the tycoon who is doing this, the one who is being possessed by El Dulce, is looking at the rankings just like Rene was in the game. And technically, it's still the game because El Dulce is playing him, but the game has become reality.
Right.
But the constant reference to the rankings is another kind of reiteration of the whole life versus cash thing. Like everything is about the rankings, and that's oddly reminiscent of kind of lit RPG as a genre. The whole thing where like you get your character stats and your rankings are like a plot point. Like these people live in a world where the rankings are in fact a plot point in their lives.
I mean, I think a tycoon guys in our world are also constantly checking the rankings. Like they're checking to see their number go up, and they're destroying all of our lives just so they can have their billions of dollars create more billions of dollars. Though they don't need it. Like what are they going to do with it? Nothing. They're going to die like the rest of us. Like, so it really is like seeing and then also like the bit where when El Dulce starts doing like the cash versus life thing, where he is in a video game and then he's gone, and because his snake goddess told him to, he went into another video game where he is embodying, he's role playing this tycoon, this rich tycoon who wants his ranking to go up. And then El Dulce is like, all right, I need my number to go up, or I also would like to live, so I could kill Dengue Girl, which would mean she wouldn't be able to kill me. But he's like, no, it's more important to help this guy that I am not even really am this guy, win a fake thing in a video game. And it just made me think of like the weird guys who defend Elon Musk. Like
yeah,
like these people, like all these people are like all these people online, like these right wingers and like extreme shooters for capitalism, even though they own no capital. They are not capitalists. They are Marx. And that's like what I thought about with El Dulce.
It's the
El Dulce is the classic Mark, right? Yeah.
Right.
At every level. Yeah.
It's the guy who's like, it's the joke from Futurama, where it's like, what, are you rich? And he's like, no, but one day I will be. And then people like me better get out of my way. It's like, well,
yeah. Like if you do not own any capital and you are defending capitalism, you are not a capitalist. You are a sucker.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Well, but not a mosquito.
Yeah.
Yes, not in the Dengue Girl sense,
and not in the cool way.
And the capitalists are betting in this world on Dengue Girl's success because they've bet on the the antidotes for the virus is selling like crazy and all kinds of different things they can sell. But what they don't realize is, or maybe they do realize, but it's too late, is like you've unleashed this thing. This thing is over. Like it's the equivalent of like, starting a nuclear war so that you can rule the earth. Like what earth? You know what I mean? It is, yeah, no, literally like reigning in hell rather than serving in heaven type shit. But in this case, at the very least, they have created sort of this new species that can supplant humanity in a very sort of, I was thinking of like Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future or something like that. Or even Orcs and Crake, I thought about a lot when I was reading this book. Which we've got to cover at some point. That would be a great episode.
Also features some weird sex, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had that on my shelf for years. We'll get around to it.
That's Margaret Atwood, isn't it?
It is. It is. And what we get here is ultimately Dengue Girl, who for a while gets called Dengue Matriarch and Dengue Void and Dengue Dead and whatnot.
I feel like a Dengue Void sometimes.
Oh yeah. Dengue Girl ultimately being like, okay, I now have the power to become the Anarch, the Great Anarch. And how do I do that? Well, there's this pit that goes into the places where the rocks of pre-humanity are, and the capitalists are sucking it out of the ground with a factory shaped like a giant mosquito. Because I'm telling you, this book does not let up on the gas for even 1 second. It's like, okay, I think I've got my bearings. Okay, nope, there's a giant mosquito factory. Okay, I've got my bearings. Okay, so now the kid is running the sheepy brothel in the bathroom. Okay, cool. Oh no, now there's a sheepy, like there's just shit that's just happening.
Oh no, yeah, I just remembered Alfredito.
I read that whole like adolescent sheepy brothel thing to my girlfriend completely out of context and just watch her reality crumble. It's glorious, right? both in the sense of, it's so much of this book is about sacrificing childhood and innocence on the altar of profit, but also like
yeah,
this is some of the most creative prose that I've ever read. Just gloriously profane.
It's kind of amazing how this book manages to be so absurd and like sicko, but it doesn't feel like shock porn.
No.
If you know what I mean. Like it's doing something and it never feels like it's just trying to gross you out. And I think it's because the prose are so strong. But yeah, I feel like that there are books like this that are usually just like kind of gross.
Yeah, it's that kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of comedy tone to it all, right? Like, yes, this is over the top, but it's going somewhere and it's this way for a reason kind of thing. I guess like it's a book about excess, capitalist excess, and also like I guess like the potential excess of like the uprising.
Exactly.
It never feels like the author is going like, aren't you shocked now? Aren't you so disgusted? Like it's not like trying to impress you with how intentionally disgusting it is. It is like, okay, in the context of this world with very strange, admittedly always changing rules, I see how that happened. I see why the 12-year-old who was possessing the CEO did that. I don't like that I had to think about it, but I see why the kid did that. You know what I mean? It continuously follows and it doesn't linger. It just keeps moving to the next thing. And I mean, the next thing and the next thing and the next thing until finally the capitalists are like, yo, don't unleash the anarch. That'll make us, it literally says, it'll make you realize that private property doesn't make sense. Like it's so like it literally says it. And then you have this moment at the very end that just like very much escalates. Dengue Girl, soars down to just like absorb the power of the stones. I mean, it goes on for a while. There's some beautiful prose here, but to find a good spot,
maybe start from like indeed what the primordial anarchy that governed this childlike. Like
Lenore, you read it. I've already read some stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, she goes through like the big fence around the mosquito, like Final Fantasy VII, like live stream, like devouring machine. Here we go. Indeed, what the primordial anarchy that governed this childlike geological intelligence achieved was not the confusion of everything that is and is not, but also the nows and the yesterdays and the tomorrows that were and were not and are not and will be and won't be, and thus there was not only no way of telling one thing from another, you could not even distinguish yourself in the different past and future moments of the blind vertex that is this now. Dengue Girl saw herself in an epiphany of multiplicities that opened up like a fan and of which she had attained total control, and she traveled to the 19th century and killed Julio Argentino Roca, decreeing the end of the conquest of the desert, and she traveled to the year 2272 and to the summer camp in Victorica and killed herself, thus avoiding the dengue plague and its monetization in the stock exchange, and while she was at it, since she was there anyway, she killed El Dulce, and traveled to Antarctica, and liberated it from the British yoke, and killed as many humans fleeing Earth as she could find, and she traveled to the Pleistocene, where she left mosquito eggs that would exterminate the incipient Homo sapiens, and never, not in a million years, would humanity spread across Earth. And she traveled to your present, where she bit you and infected you with her virus forever. And she traveled to a game of Christians versus Indians
Forever.
too, where she killed El Dulce in his metaverse, and to another present or past or future. Is there any difference now? No, not at this stage, because all the ecstasies of time persisted in a single presence, a unanimous trance that converged into your infancy, the eternal origin of the world that has never stopped beginning again and again and again in a stubborn sempiternal tick-tock, destroying it all in the way that only a true beginning can destroy. That was 2 sentences.
Dengue up in your house biting your balls. What are you doing?
This it's we're using this term a lot lately, but this is orgasmic, right? It is the culmination of everything being blended into a glorious slurry that I don't know what it is, but it's better than what we got now.
Yeah.
The
Well,
now
in the
being
ending, it just
2272.
says, "Hail, mighty anarch, Dengue Boy, Girl, Void, Matriarch, Monarch, nothing, everything has become the mighty anarch finally and totally." And that is, yeah, the fusion of, you could call it like reaching some kind of enlightenment. You can call it what you want or not, but somehow through the cauldron of the worst of capitalist excess, through the worst of experimentation, through exploitation, this singular figure has managed to reach enlightenment, and through so doing also reach power, and also create is sort of self replicating in this like army of mosquito people who will presumably inherit the earth.
Yeah.
Am I saying this correctly? I think
Yeah.
I
Probably
am.
good. Good for them. I love that for them.
So happy
God
for
knows
them.
we fucked it up, so good luck, mosquitoes.
And I appreciate that it's like, yeah, just went after Julio and Argentino Roca in particular, which is like, if I'm remembering my history correctly, he is the guy that is very much seen like, the Patagonia genocide was very much seen as like the leader of the forces against that carried that out, and some
Mhm.
first official president of Argentina in the 1880s. So that's, I suppose, the reference there. But yeah, I guess like in totality, there's so much going on, and we certainly can't say anything that will, replace the experience of reading the book. But I don't know. What are y'all's takeaways? What are y'all's feelings? Like, what are y'all like? Just, I don't know. What are y'all's reactions to this while we're talking about it?
Geez, I want them to translate more of this guy's stuff. Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
This was so fun. I just kept being like, wow, this feels like being hit in the head, and I love it.
Yeah.
Being kicked in the head by a horse.
For all that this is kind of this like dialed up to whatever like number you can imagine. The opening line of this is nobody loves Dengue Boy, and there's this whole thing about the child and their mother, like not loving each other, not caring for each other, resenting each other. But at the same time, like the mother obviously does care for Dengue Boy, right? Because like at one point, like very early on, he's sending him to school with like blood sausage in his lunchbox in case he gets the urge to munch on some people. Um, so there is love there. And when Dengue Girl eventually becomes aware of herself as a person with power, the very first thing she does is set out to avenge her mother's humiliations in the workplace.
Mhm.
Right, not just the boss, like the people who hire her as a nanny, but also the various people at the brokerage who have been abusing her. So I think there's a kind of like odd tenderness there, which I find really affecting in hindsight after the chaos and explosives and fireworks of the story. The idea that there is, in fact, like something of like a filial love uh, in the text, where it's kind of like understated, but it's definitely still there. And I think that's the only kind of positive human relation um, in the entire, the only two people who actually have some affection, even if it's not actually articulated very clearly between them. There is some, uh, it's visible in their actions, if not in their words.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the person indeed who is Dengue Boy, Dengue Girl, is our protagonists, is our protagonist's war with humanity and with her oppressors, with her mother, with the class of people, who denigrate her mother and who bet on the spreading of disease and all that. Is her war with that, um, is there? She goes out and she does practice, and is it necessarily guided by theory? Is maybe not. Is it going to fall into the trap of like creating profit for like this odious class of people? Maybe, but it's like it's as you mentioned, Vajra, like it's the person who's acting out of a deep love for the people in her life, that gets to fuse with the mighty anarch in the end, whatever that ultimately means, right? And it's in very sharp contrast, I think, to the bit where El Dulce is in the game within the game, or no, he comes to the game within the game, and the context of it is this. What was that? Had the sacred divinity really offered him the possibility of fulfilling his dream? Yes, yes, it was a Pampatronics. The Pampatronics, not the pathetic Chinese knockoff his asshole of a brother had given him, but the original Pampatronics manufactured in Antarctica, right? Like, you have Dengue Boy, Dengue Girl, whichever, and then you have this person whose greatest ambition is just like a faster horse, right? Not a car, but a faster horse, just a cooler version of this distraction from the rest of the world, right? You just want a more efficient version of this thing that, in which you can, flee into and disengage from the rest of the world, right? And that's the option, right? You can either overthrow humanity and create the mosquito sphere, or you can just go into a slightly worse game. you know? I know which I prefer.
Long live the mosquito sphere. Yeah, I thought it was interesting, like the whole part where he talks about his mom reading him Snow White.
hmm
Oh
And
yeah.
how like you get these people who are in like go to this cruise ship with people who are obsessed with cold, but then cold is also also juxtaposed with whiteness. And she's like, if only I were white, then my mother might love me. If I was whiter, if I was paler. I thought that was interesting how like winter gets like sort of, I don't think that's a mistake. I don't think that's a
Winter's seen
coincidence.
as a luxury. I mean, you've got a
Yeah.
statue of Prometheus holding a block of ice, which is
Yes.
interesting, right?
A block of ice,
So
and like
many fun details.
it's like Prometheus steals fire, and from fire you create civilization, right? What do you create with Prometheus stealing ice? You get people chipping stuff off the ice to put in their drink, right? It's the total. You're repurposing this flame of knowledge and progress for just total dissolution, just total circling the drain, right? It's such that whole cruise ship is such a glorious like disgust. It's such glorious disgust.
Well, cruise ships are awful.
Well, yes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, just ask friend of the show AJ. Um,
Jesus. I mean, like, God, the one time I was on a cruise ship, just like, I'm not kidding. Day one, I'm on the cruise ship. Right next to me, there's another American couple. To be clear, we're in Europe on a Norwegian cruise line. And this guy right behind me is complaining about all these immigrants on the cruise. And I'm like, brother, this dude is, I guess, I don't know, from somewhere in the United States talking about all these damn immigrants. It's like, dude, we're like off the coast of France right now. What are you talking about? That's the type of shit you get on a
in the
cruise. I'm
ocean,
sorry,
all
not
of us are
relevant, but
immigrants.
yeah, like we're off the coast of Europe on a Norwegian cruise line with the the people running the ship are mostly Filipino. What are you anyway, I'm sorry. I know that's not the point. You can cut that if you want, Ryan, but that made me so mad when that happened. Like I literally had to turn to the guy and be like, dude, and then he got mad at me. Whatever. Such as the guy. That's why I'm not cut out to go on cruises. The last thing I wanted to note here.
Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, sorry. The last thing I wanted to note here is I'm sorry, like I couldn't help but think of to be very doctrinaire about it, but there's the literal Karl Marx quote that says modern bourgeois society with its relations of production, of exchange, and of property is a society that has conjured up such gigantic means of production and of exchange, like a sorcerer who is no longer able to control the powers of the netherworld, whom he has called up by his spells. And I can't help but be like, oh, that's kind of what happens in this book, but like way freakier. And I don't know why that just like occurred to me. I'm like, oh yeah, calling up the powers, whatever. But like a much more dramatic, much more kind of fun, kind of queer, kind of gnarly version of that. And I don't know, I just like popped into my head we were talking just now.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as sorcerers go, right? I can't help but think of another Lovecraft story, right?
Okay.
I'm thinking specifically of The Alchemist from earlier in his career, where the villain is like this sorcerer that lives like under a castle, right? There is this family that lives in the castle. They are cursed to like have every man in their family die at the age of 30. And it turns out that the curse is just the sorcerer who has discovered immortality and is using that power just to break into the house and like kill guys when they reach 30, just over and over again down through the centuries. And it's like, is that what you really aspire to if you have ultimate power? Is that what you really aspire to if you have like geoengineering, right? I feel like I made this point already, so it's neither here nor there, right? You can be Prometheus with the fire, or you can be Prometheus with the ice,
I'm reminded of a classic Spider-Man comic from 2014. It's not that classic, but it's called
Yes.
Spider-Man and the X-Men. He's facing down against a villain by the name of Carl Lycos. Is a gigantic gigantic pterodactyl. And Spider-Man says, you can rewrite DNA on the fly. You're using it to turn people into dinosaurs. With that tech, you could cure cancer. And the pterodactyl looks down at him and says, I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
That truly is where we're at. Like, because, yeah, there are people in this world who literally could end world hunger.
Right.
Like, with the amount of money that they have.
Right.
They
Singular individuals.
Yeah. People like Elon Musk could walk down the street and set into motion, like literally putting in the infrastructure to feed the entire world. And he doesn't. Mm-hmm. Because he'd rather pretend that he's good at Path of Exile. That's what he does with his money. He pays people to play Path of Exile for him. Like, I don't know, man. Being rich is a brain disease.
No doubt. No doubt.
The kind of people who get to ask questions like life or cash, always use cash, and that's because like by the time you formulated the question, it's too late. It's always other people's lives too, isn't it?
Right.
Yes. Yeah, it becomes the only reason it's unique and tough in this book is because he's thinking of his own life and not the lives of others. Absolutely.
Even then, it's actually like El Duce, like speaking through Noah Nuclopio or whatever his name is. So there's still kind of a displacement of whose life are we talking about, because El Duce is already dead or will soon be dead, depending on how you plot his timeline.
Yeah, well, and it's that will to be the first 12-year-old who jacks off, right? That often propels people into the heights of political power, right?
Into the heights of running a brothel in your middle school bathroom.
Yeah, grind set memes, like Bitcoin grind set guys, but it's like, I was running a brothel in the bathroom at 12 years old. Yeah.
You could probably derail the world economy by just mailing a bunch of sheepies to all the CEOs.
Yeah,
no doubt. Folks, get on those sheepies. I don't know why they're called sheepies. Don't know if I want to know. Scary
I
shit.
do not want to know.
I think I know why they're called sheepies.
Well,
yeah, sound off in the comments with your theories.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, Vajra, we really appreciate you coming on today, bringing us this super fun book for the work that you have done that we have talked about on this very podcast. People can go back and listen to our Saint of Bright Doors episode, and people should get your book, Saint of Bright Doors, as well as Rakesfall, and also check you out on social media. Is there anything else you want to plug before we wrap it up here?
Not really. No, that's about it. My website is vajra.me. That's vajra.me. And you'll find like announcements and whatnot over there. Since social media is like collapsing, etc.
Vajra's a good follow on Blue Sky.
Yes.
Yes. Also, I was going to ask, I was told to ask, are there any authors that you would say, like, if you really like your books, if you really like Saint of Bright Doors and Rakesfall, what else should you read? I got asked that today by my boyfriend to ask you on this podcast, and I was curious if you had any answers, like authors that you think are similar to your own work.
Right. I mean, Michel Nieva is not a bad not a bad pick. Premi Mohammed, Sofia Samatar.
I love Premi.
I guess Simon Jimenez. We often people were recommending Rakesfall and The Spear Cuts Through Water back to back a lot. I think partly because they came out roughly around the same time, and they were kind of in the discourse together. There's got to be tons more. Like, I'm just kind of blanking on this at the moment.
Oh, you're good.
But
yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, Premi Mohammed is a good pull. Like, she's really cool. Yeah, I read your book first. Amal El Motar was like, Aisha, you'd love this book, and she was right. I did love it.
I'm always been very kind to that book. For Premi, I would especially recommend the book called The Siege of Burning Grass.
Fantastic. We love the recommendations. Well, you are officially now, I believe, our third author that we've both covered one of their books and also had on the show. So
nice.
if I'm remembering, it's you, Omar Ellicott, and Lee Mandela. So solid trio right there. And we'd love to get more authors. Always feel free to reach out. Let's do it. Well, if no one has any final thoughts, Lenore, do you have anything to close us on?
I don't know. Go go seek out the Mighty Anarch in whatever form. What he, she.
Shall we talk about the Mighty Anarch?
Yeah, shall we talk about the Mighty Anarch? If you hear that question, run toward it. Don't run away from it. Don't let a cordon of soldiers, block it off from the rest of the world. Hold it in your hand. Maybe don't smash a mysterious egg into your forehead. I don't imagine that'll
don't put
good.
Your gender dysphoria into your PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not your fucking dad.
Or I'm not your dad.
Yeah. You want to pick up a sheepy? Go ahead. How can I stop you?
Yeah. What could go wrong? All right. Hail Mighty Anarch. Bye,
Hail
y'all.
Mighty Anarch.
Bye.